Do you want to be able to crochet any sweater? I am talking any sweater, sweetheart. I'm talking you're scrolling on your phone, you're scrolling on Pinterest, and it could be crochet, but it also cannot be. It could be knit inspired, it could be anything. And fall is coming up, winter is coming up, and it's even midsummer, and I've crocheted 4 sweaters. I've crocheted 4 sweaters in the span of like 2 weeks. That's a little crazy, but I can 110% tell you my crochet style, my favorite thing to crochet is sweaters. And I've made a lot of cardigans, and that reminds me, I've made a video that inspired this, how you can crochet any cardigan you want without a pattern. And that is the same thing with this video. We're going to be talking about sweaters. Those sweaters are a little more intricate, and there's a lot of different variations depending on how you want your sweater to go and to be. It's all the same concept, and this is the whole part of my channel. I'm not necessarily here's a pattern, I'm more let's try to figure this out together. Let's learn this one concept, and then we can create things on our own and be able to do whatever we want. Like, I'm gonna give y'all the little like push, teach you like the ABCs, and y'all gonna write beautiful books. That's what I'm talking about. So this is how you can crochet any sweater you want. And this is not the methods I'm going to be going over. There's a lot of controversy. They're like, oh, this isn't every cardigan, this isn't da-da-da. Yeah, basically, you can figure it out. Once you learn this, I'm pretty sure there's not going to be a sweater you look like that you're like, oh my god, how on earth did they make this? You're gonna know. You're gonna know. And if you don't know, I probably have a pattern for it, sweetheart. Okay, so let's get into this. The secret to crochet sweaters is knowing that there are 4 parts. There are 4 things that go into this. You're gonna need a front, you're gonna need a back, sleeves, I guess is considered as 2, and then basically you're done. And it's all gonna end with the same shape. We're basically gonna be using different methods to all get the same shapes to figure out the same thing. You're gonna turn this big plus sign into a T, which turns out to be a sweater, because that's what our body is. We're a T. So yeah, and it's up to grabs whether or not you want to add a neckline. I know a lot of crocheters, sometimes they just make the squares, which simplifies it because you don't have to make the neckline, but honestly, there's so many simple ways to add the neck. You're like, I promise you guys are probably just overthinking it. It's not difficult, but once you learn this, you won't have problems adding the neck. I'd like adding the neck because usually if you don't, it's kind of just like, it's a weird neckline. Not a fan. But that is just a preference. I know a lot of people will just make the squares, sew them together, and whatever. And I feel like that is the typical way, but I'm here to make it not typical. Okay, let's get into method number 1, which is my secret sauce that has people like, oh my god, this way is so easy. This method is so amazing. Bella, how do you do it? My all at once method. I say it's one panel. This is a big controversy because people are like, oh yeah, it's one panel. She didn't have to sew anything together. She crocheted it all together, so that's one thing. But some people are like, okay girl, just because you didn't sew it, it's still 4 panels. Like, you thought you ate? I'm gonna say it's one panel because that's what really grabs them, you know? Even the ones who are like, that's 4 panels, they're still like, I agree with you though. This is amazing. This is the best method I've ever heard. So I call it all at once because you only have to sew at the end. You don't have to sew the 4 panels together, which is just so much easier. Like, we're here to crochet. We're not sewers. Seamstresses, whatever the heck. I do sew too though, so I can't even say that. Anyways, so what I start by doing is you have a starting chain, whatever you want the width of your sweater to be. I'm not saying the whole width, I'm talking about just the front width. And you're gonna crochet the rows, how many stitches you want, how long you want it. But keep in mind, this is not gonna be the whole length of our sweater. It's only gonna be like up to here. Because once we get up to here, we're gonna start to make the shoulders. So like right here, you see, I'm not crocheting a square altogether. We start to make like a U shape. So we're gonna crochet one side and then the other. I usually like to leave like 12 to 15 stitches, depending on how loose the stitch is, how wide. You can measure like, okay, my head's gonna fit here, it won't fit here. But also keep in mind, you wanna make it a little bigger because we're gonna make the neckline smaller later. But I leave that middle 12 to 15 stitches, and then I calculate my number and do the same on each shoulder, so like each side. So for example, I typically will have like 60 chains, 60 to 70 chains, so we'll go with 60. And if I want to leave a 15 gap, this is like math, like this is like perimeter, you figure out the lengths and sides, whatever. So if I have 60 chains and I want to leave a gap of 15, 60 minus 15 is equal to 45. So it's not going to be exact because obviously you can't divide, you can't have a 0.5 stitch. So if I were to like to round up and go to 46, then on each side I would have like 23 stitches on each side. So I know I'm just going to do rows of 23 over and over again on each side. And then once I get to the row before my last one, so if I'm doing 10 rows, I'm going to crochet 9 rows on each side and then stop. But say if I crochet the right shoulder first and I did 9 rows, cut it off, whatever, go to the other side. But once I get to the 9th row here, keep that hook on. If you're in the right direction, keep the hook on. But if you're not, cut it and you have to go in the right direction. When I say right direction, I mean it has to be outside to inside. So like outside to the neck part. Like it can't be going outside because the whole point is we have to finish on the inside so that it gets to the secret sauce of the one panel. We can crochet a row, our last row, chain that missing 15, chain that missing inner neck part, and then crochet that last row. So it's connected through the chain. So we don't have to sew the back panel because we re-got all the stitches that we needed back. We re-got that number, that original 60, because before we only had, what? It was 22, 23, 46. So that means I'm missing 14. So I'd have to chain that beginning 14. And that means we have 23, 23, 14. So now we're back to our starting 60, right? Yeah, we're back to our starting 60. So then we can do the same number of rows that we did on the front. So now we just have this big O, right? So we have this big O, and that allows us to start doing our sleeves. So this is a method that I think I've always used because I don't think there will ever be a time that I ever sew on my sleeves again unless I'm doing some crazy behind pattern that requires it. Like if I want the sleeves to be a different color or something. But honestly, even in that case, I still would not have a need to sew my sleeves on. I always crochet my sleeves in. And sometimes that can be scary because you do have to measure it a certain way. So there are 2 ways to measure how to count out your sleeves, to measure your sleeves, everything. So, but I'm going to talk about that after I just demonstrate what we do. So we calculate where we want to start and end the sleeves, and then we just go right in. We just turn our work to the side, crochet the stitches right in, and just crochet down that side. And we do that for each side into the amount of the length of the sleeves we want and everything. So when it comes to actually knowing where to crochet those sleeves on, you can try on that big O, like put the O on your head, like put your head through the center of the donut, and then just pinch like where you want the sleeves to be and just put a stitch marker there. And you know that, okay, you take it off, you know that where that pinch is gonna be the start and end of your sleeve, because it's basically like where they meet together. So you take out that little one, but keep in mind where the start, like on each side where the stitch marker was, and then put one in start and end. Okay, and then you can just crochet across the rows. But I do think it is smart to add extra stitch markers, add extra calculations, like figure out where that middle row is. The way to figure that is we did the neckline, we did an even amount of rows on each for the front and back. So all you have to do is remember the amount of rows you did and just count, like count from the center. So like say I did 10 rows for the neckline, I know count up 5. That's between the 5th and 6th row is going to be where the center is. So I can mark that too, so that I know I want to have an even amount. Another way to do this, if you don't want to measure it, I always have made so many sweaters. So if you already know, I literally go from 54, and depending, like 54 is a good length of sleeves that I want. Like it fits my arm good, nice loosey goosey. It's nice. If it is 54, then depending on the stitch that I'm using, I'm going to be putting 1 in each row. So for example, if I'm using half double crochet, I put 1 stitch in each row of half double crochet, like the sides. So I'm gonna count 27 for the middle and then just go 54 across. But if I was doing like triple crochet, which I did for this sweater, and I'm doing 54, then I know that I want triple. So like I'm gonna put 3 stitches in each row, because since that one's so wide, like this stitch is so much wider than half double crochet, obviously we're gonna need more than just one in each. Like it wouldn't be even enough. Then after you've done the sleeves, you have this big T, this big, yeah, lowercase t plus sign, and then all you have to do is fold in half, sew down the sleeves, sew down the sides of the body, and then you're done. Like, we just crocheted all that together. Less sewing, blessing, amazing. I love it. I live by this method. I love a good comfy crochet where I don't have to think. I just can just sit there, crochet, watch my show, read, whatever. Ugh, I love it. This is just how my brain works. Like, I'm a lazy girl, so I like to be comfortable. So this is why I come up with like these methods. I come up with these methods to work smarter, not harder, okay? That's what we're here for. So that was the one panel. And the good thing with the one panel is it's such a good measure as I go. Measurements are all good, But I'm gonna tell you guys a lot of tips at the end about measurements and everything. Sorry, I don't know where it's looking. I'm gonna tell you guys a lot of tips at the end to keep in mind when making your sweaters. So even if you're not here for the methods, like, go look at the tips, because, you know, you live and you learn. I want y'all to know to not make these mistakes before I do, okay? Now we're gonna go with 2 panels, which is around the same base. Like, it's a little more sewing, but also it does come in handy. I'm trying to think when I would use this method. I think I've used it before, but honestly, I can't remember right now. But there's definitely like certain sweaters that require you to not sew them all at once. But I really can't think of any right now because I'm like a one panel girl. But whatever. Say you don't want to do the one panel. So then you would crochet your front panel doing what we talked about before. So like, okay, so I'm going to start my chain, make my rows. So for this one, you would just crochet the front panel, then crochet the back panel, but you have to make sure that the top shoulders are the same number of stitches, because you don't want to have to sew them together later and then like they're sticking out because they're not the same number. You can always crochet the front panel, crochet the back panel, and then sew them together. And I say sew them together now because since it's 2 panels, quote unquote, you're going to just do the same method that we use for the sleeves. Like, when I say I never sew my sleeves, I literally never do. Even when I'm making cardigans or anything, which I do have one panel cardigans, which is kind of inspo. Like, when I made that video, I was like, how can I figure out how to make a one panel sweater? And ta-da, I did, just for y'all. So we have the 2 panels and we sew them together to make the O that we originally crocheted all together, but now it's just 2 different pieces. And then you can just crochet the sleeves right on again. Easy as that. I think I'm so big on crocheting on 2 because you can kind of see like a little bit, barely anything, like it's a little indent where you sew the pieces together. So especially if you have a really colorful one, you don't want to have to sew because sometimes it's hard to hide colorful different colors, but it's fine. Whew, a lot of talking. So then you have the 2 panels, then you have the sleeves, and then we have our beautiful plus sign. The plus sign's like a happiness plus sign. Like, you're about to add happiness to your life because all you have to do is fold it into a T. T for terrific. T for what is a good thing that starts with T? Like, is there any crochet T words? Let's ask chat. Chat GPT. Crochet words that start with T. Ah! The words are tapestry, tension, thread, triple crochet, Tunisian crochet. Okay, none of those are good. T is for whatever. T is for terrific. That's what we're gonna have to go with. T is for to finish. The finish. So then you have your beautiful lowercase t, and then you fold it into an uppercase T. Yeah, that's maybe like we're upgrading. Like, we're on to better things. That's what we'll say that is. You fold it in half. You sew down the side sleeves. You sew down the sides. And then you have a wondrous sweater. So then, last but not least, we have our classic, basic, the most common way you're gonna see all sweater tutorials. If maybe not all, I haven't watched all of them, but all the ones that I learned from, all the ones that I've watched, they've all been 4 panels. So for that, it's kind of obvious. You would crochet your front panel, your back panel, your sleeve, and that's 4 panels, and then you would sew it all together. With this, I would say sewing cannot always be the cleanest, so sometimes sometimes my sewing would be uneven, bunched in certain areas, a mess, no matter how many stitch markers I use. So that's why I like to crochet, because you just don't have to worry about it. But yeah, you would sew the 4 panel. I'm just like, oh my god, I hate this method. I hate all the crocheters. No, it's just this is a personal preference for me. I don't care if that's how you make your sweater, because honestly, like, they all look good. They literally, all the sweaters I made for panels still slay. Even if they're uneven, that's more of a me thing. That's more of like a, you're a psycho, why can you tell that I miscount on this stitch? So that's the 4 panel. I actually remember one that I made for 4 panels, and it is my green St. Patrick's Day one that is like spiral one. So that is one where you're not just crocheting up and down, so you can't just crochet it together. I can think of it. I have actually used it before. But like with certain, there's going to be specific times that you cannot just crochet all together because they're not going to be all in the same direction. Even if you want your stripes to go like side to side on the sleeves, like the same direction as before, then you wouldn't be able to crochet them on. So you might have to use the 4 panel, or figure something out, or have different variations of 3, it's all over the place. You would do all that. I think with this method, it's simplest because you just have the panels. You don't have to think about big picture, like if that's overwhelming for you and you like to break it down piece by piece. But for me, I think if you don't know the numbers, it's hard to measure, add your own measurements, because with the other one, you can measure as you go. You can kind of see it in front of you and everything. But that is the 3 methods that I use. If you figure out another one, I'm sure there are, like there's sweaters that a lot of people said, like on my cardigan one, that it's like, what is it called, the hexagon sweater or whatever, and they make like the granny squares and then they fold it into a sweater or cardigan or whatever. I've never made one of those, but that was a big one in my last comment section that they're like, this isn't this one, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. But that is all the methods I have for you guys. But let's get into one important key part that is a big part of making your sweater look like it's clean and bought and just amazing. Not that we want to look bought, because hello, I want y'all to be like, where did you get this beautiful masterpiece I've never seen before? This is a beautiful piece of art. Where did you buy this? And be like, listen, honey, this can't be bought, okay? I probably should start selling these. Okay, let's talk about ribbing. Ribbit, which is why it's called frogging, by the way. I learned that, like, when you frog something, it's because you rip it. So you rib it. We're talking about ribbing, which is like the outskirts of everything. I don't have it on this, but I have it like on a lot of sweaters. So 3 places that you could potentially, to add a little pizzazz, to add a little touch, to have it clean, is you could use it on your neck, you could use it on the bottom of the sweater, and you could use it on the sleeves. And this also helps with altering a lot of stuff. So like I said before, the neck, when you make these pieces, unless you're like measuring on yourself and you know like this is the size I want my neck to be, so you made it smaller, the number of rows and everything, I make my necks a little bigger in the crochet process because I know later I'm going to make this neck smaller. So what I do for that, to be able to alter the neck and the size that I like, the droopage that I like, I go around the row, like the circle that I have in the center, with single crochet, and then I add single crochets and decreases depending on the piece that I have. Sometimes I'm like, okay, decrease the whole row, it's worked fine, I can fit my head in, it's fine. Other times I try to do decrease each row and my head won't fit, so I have to do single crochet, decrease, like that pattern. So really, honestly, when you're making this, you want to do that decrease row. Keep in mind that it's, depending on the sweater that you're making, it's going to be different. So for ribbing, for the neck, sometimes even for the whole piece, if I'm feeling lazy and it still looks clean, like this ribbing that I did is just rows of half double crochet. It looks clean, it gets the job done, it's really the size I want, it's good. But for the extra little touch, there's 2 options. I know people use both of these. You can either do single crochets and back loop only, like up and down, or you could do slip stitches and back loop only. I've only ever done single crochets and back loop only, and so for that I would have, so like I said, we did single crochet, we did single crochet decrease row, and now we're going to like chain the height of the ribbon we want. So say I wanted like 6 high, I would chain 6 stitches, and then I would single crochet down, slip stitch into the bottom row, because like we're going up and down now, so like we need to connect to the neck, so you slip stitch in the next 2 stitches, right? And then you single crochet up, only in back loop, single crochet down, only in back loop, slip stitch the next 2 stitches, and you just keep going around. So every time you reach the bottom, you slip stitch in the next 2 stitches, and then you go up and down with back loop onlys, and that's gonna get you like the bumpy ribbing look. And then you can apply this same process to the rest, to the sleeves. So like say I wanted this sleeve to be cut, which I've also done for a lot of my other sweaters, you're going to do a row of single crochet, do a row of decreases. Like, that's to really get the snug look, and you can just keep adding rows of decreases, keep adding, just mix in between, like, just to alter the size. All that's going to do is just make the circle smaller, the circumference, so that it's snug on your wrist or however snug you want it. And then you do the same ribbing thing. I think with other sweaters that I made, they've also started with the ribbing. Like, they'll start the bottom panel, they'll start the ends of the sleeves with the ribbing. So like, that's the same thing where you just do the single crochet, back loop only, and then that's that. So yeah, so this, all that would do is just pinch this together and then add this ribbing at the end with like the nice look. And I think that does make it look all together. I don't suggest that when you are adding ribbing to the bottom that you add decreases, because that's just gonna make it like cut in. I would just do a row of single crochet and ribbing, but also I don't typically add ribbing on the bottom because it is going to make it fit more snug. And if you do add ribbing, I kind of suggest that you start with it so that you can figure out the number of chains you want based on the ribbing. Yeah, no, I don't typically add ribbing on the bottom. I feel like the sleeves and the neck do enough justice so that it looks nice enough, like looks clean enough. But honestly, maybe I'll start incorporating that. But like, if I was to add ribbing to this, since it's triple crochet, it would tighten it up so much on the bottom that like I don't know, I don't think it would look nice on this. Even for this, like, this is more the flowy oversized look that I'm going for. But that is a nice touch to add to a lot of your sweaters, cardigans, anything. Like, ribbing just makes it look so clean and put together. And obviously with all of this, this takes a lot of practice. I have been crocheting for 10 years. Honestly, I crocheted my first sweater a year ago because I think like when I was a kid crocheting, I don't even know what I made. I was just doing anything. A lot of this comes with practice and just experience and figuring everything out. So I highly suggest that you figure it out, because you could be listening to all I say, but honestly, like, my measurements are going to be different than yours. The type of sweaters I wear are different. Like, I typically make oversized sweaters. I typically make like flowy sweaters because I sweat no matter where I go, like whatever. But this is all going to be dependent on your preference and the type of sweaters you want to make. And of course, if you want guidance, even if you don't make my sweaters, like, I would love for you guys to watch my tutorials so you can see it like firsthand, how I make this 1 panel, how I make this 2 panel, how I use the 4 panel. Like, I have incorporated all of these methods and pieces I made. This all comes with experience. Yeah. Also, huge tip, oh my god, I totally forgot to bring this up. When you block your pieces, they're going to expand. And if you don't block your pieces, that's a little crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I can't even say that because I definitely didn't used to block my pieces, because I was like, what is blocking? Never heard of that. But no, now I'm introducing blocking to you, so you better block or we finna box. Ooh. Anyways, boxing is blocking because it's like a block. It's like a block. Okay, whatever. Or maybe like, okay, this would be a good cash fight. If you don't block, I'll block you. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, she's a little aggressive. No, highly suggest that you block your pieces. But when this happens, your pieces are going to expand. So when you make all those measurements, maybe don't do them like exact. Maybe make them a little smaller, especially depending on the stitch you're using. I knew for a fact, make these sleeves like a lot shorter than I want them to be, because triple crochet is gonna like triple in size. Same with double crochet. Half double crochet, you can get away with a little bit. Single crochet, you can get away a lot. It's not gonna expand that much. Maybe depending on the wool that you're using or the yarn that you're using. But to be honest, just keep in mind the stitch you're using, how much is gonna expand when you block it. I steam my clothes. I'm just lazy, so it's a quick and easy solution where I don't have to like put it in the sink, put it in the soap, roll it up, whatever. I can just hang it up, steam it, watch it expand. Now it's all flowy. What is blocking, you ask? It just makes it more flowy. It loosens the fibers so that it's just not stiff. Crochet can be stiff. It can be stiff life. So yeah, please block, but keep in mind the measurements. Okay? Yeah. I think that's all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this yap set. I love, like, the whole goal of my channel is to encourage you guys to make your own pieces, to just see something that you want and grab it. Not even need to have to be like, okay, I need this pattern, I need this tutorial. Not that, like, nothing against, because all I do is get inspiration off of other crocheters, and like, I love the support in the crochet community. And I feel like out of all the communities, like, the ones that are the nicest are the crocheters, because like, why we're all just chill. Like, we love to just sit here and crochet and just listen to people talk. I have been wanting to make this for the longest time, but I was a little iffy because I was like, okay, maybe I don't cover every sweater. But this is more just a concept thing. I'm totally encouraging you guys to take the gift that you have and make new gifts. Make your own patterns, make your own tutorials for other people to learn. And we're just constantly, this is a never ending that we just keep, everyone just keeps creating their own patterns and everybody wants everyone else's. So then we all just like houses filled with crochet pieces. That's the goal. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see more, I have a plethora of crochet things. There's really no exact, it could be a tutorial, it could be a vlog, it could be a talk, it could be like, but if you want to see more, you know, make sure to like and subscribe. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a lovely night. I don't know if you can see the time, but it's currently 11:08 while I'm making you get this. So that's dedication, because I should be in bed. And also my birthday's in 3 days, so that's really dedication. Like, I should be out there caking it up. All right, but I love you guys. Bye.